All right, let's dive into something that affects pretty much every single one of us at our jobs: incentive pay. You know, the whole idea that if you pay people for performing well, they'll actually, well, perform better. But as you're about to find out, it's a way more complicated and fascinating puzzle than it seems.
So let's just get right to the million-dollar question, right? Does dangling a bigger paycheck in front of someone actually make them work harder or smarter? You'd think the answer is a simple duh, of course, but in reality, it's not that simple at all. There are some serious twists in this story. To really get what I'm talking about, let's ground this in the real world. Take a look at the Niello Company, a chain of car dealerships. They had a classic problem. You had the sales guys who got rewarded for, selling cars, and then you had the finance team who got rewarded for selling loans and insurance products. The problem? They weren't exactly playing on the same team. This is that incentive puzzle in a nutshell.
Okay, so before we go any further, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What is incentive pay, really? It's not the salary you get just for showing up. It's all the extra stuff, the bonuses, the commissions, all of it that's tied directly to hitting very specific goals. It's money that's all about rewarding results.
So let's start with the most straightforward way to do this: rewarding the individual. The logic is simple. You do a great job, you get a reward that's just for you. Let's see how that plays out. And the absolute classic old school example here is what's called a piecework rate. Just picture it. You're working on an assembly line. For every single widget you put together, you earn a specific amount of cash. It's as direct as it gets. More effort equals more money. Now, this comes in a couple of different flavors. A straight piecework plan is super simple. Widget number 1 pays you the exact same as widget number 100. But then you've got a differential plan, and that's where things get interesting. After you hit a certain target, the amount you earn per piece actually goes up. That's designed to really get the top performers to kick into an even higher gear. Okay, moving on to something that probably sounds very familiar to a lot of you: merit pay. This is that classic corporate system where your big annual performance review is supposed to decide how big of a raise you get. Simple concept. You do better work, you get a bigger reward.
Sounds perfect in theory, doesn't it? But, and this is a really big but, there's a huge fundamental flaw in how most companies actually do this that kind of undermines the whole thing. And here is the problem, laid out in a chart. A high performer might get a 5% raise. Okay, a low performer, they still get 3%. When you factor in taxes and inflation, is that tiny little 2% difference really enough to feel motivating? Is it gonna light a fire under you for an entire year? For most people, the answer is a big no.
And of course, it's not just about raises. You've also got other individual rewards, like performance bonuses, those one-time cash payments for hitting a big goal, and sales commissions, which are the absolute lifeblood for salespeople, giving them a direct slice of the deals they close. Okay, so rewarding individuals is one thing, but what happens in jobs where it's almost impossible to measure what one person did? What about when success isn't about me, it's all about we? That's when you need to switch gears and think about group incentives.
One of my favorite concepts in this space is called gain sharing. The idea is just so smart. If a team or an entire department figures out a way to be more efficient, to save the company money by reducing waste or streamlining a process, the company actually shares a piece of those savings back with them. It's a reward for working smarter as a team.
And then, of course, there's profit sharing. This one's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. If the company as a whole has a profitable year, a portion of that profit gets paid out to the employees. It creates this feeling that, hey, we're all in this together. And we're not talking about small change here. These payouts can be huge. Just look at 2022, when GM Auto Workers got a profit-sharing check for almost $13,000. But this also shows you the flip side, right? At Ford, the check was quite a bit smaller. Your bonus is tied to the company's fate, and your direct competitor might be having a totally different year.
All right, so far so good. Incentives seem great. But there's a dark side. A really dark side. Because when these things are designed badly or with the wrong goals in mind, they can go spectacularly, horribly wrong.
And for that, we have to talk about the cautionary tale of all cautionary tales. We have to talk about this scandal at Wells Fargo. It's a masterclass in the unintended consequences of putting people under intense pressure to perform.
So how did this train wreck happen?
Well, first you had the incentive, an aggressive bonus for every single new customer account an employee opened. This drove the behavior. Workers who were under crushing pressure to hit insane targets started creating millions of fake accounts just to get those bonuses and keep their jobs. And the result? An absolute disaster. Huge fines, thousands of people fired, and a reputation that was just shattered.
And this controversy isn't just about frontline employees. Let's talk about the very top. You see this number, 350 to 1. That's how much more a CEO at a big company can make compared to their average worker. It really makes you stop and ask, are we actually incentivizing long-term health or just short-term stock bumps?
And get this, the research suggests something completely counterintuitive. Far from guaranteeing brilliant moves, some studies show that huge incentive packages might actually make executives overconfident. It's like the money encourages them to take bigger, wilder risks that often don't pay off for the company.
Okay, so if focusing on just one simple metric can blow up in your face so badly, what's the solution? How do you actually get this right and build a smarter, safer system? This is where a tool like the Balanced Scorecard is so brilliant. Instead of rewarding just one thing like opening accounts, it forces you to measure and reward performance across a whole bunch of different areas. Financials, customer happiness, how smoothly things are running inside, and even how innovative you're being. It's about preventing that kind of tunnel vision that leads to disaster.
But look, you can have the most perfect plan on paper, but if you just drop it on people from above, it's probably going to fail. The two magic ingredients that really make these plans work are participation and communication. You have to involve employees in the actual design, and you have to communicate constantly and clearly so everyone understands how it works. That's what builds trust.
So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway? I think the best way to think about incentive pay is like fire. Used correctly, it can be an incredibly powerful, motivating, and productive tool. But if you handle it carelessly or without clear ethical rules, you can burn the whole house down. It's all about finding that delicate balance. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. When you look at the incredible potential and the catastrophic risks, is incentive pay this amazing tool we've mastered for unlocking human potential? Or is it just a dangerous game with consequences we're all still trying to figure out? Thanks for joining me.